Okay, so I don't usually like doing this, but and things have changed because this Ethan Klein character H3, I guess, brought on a lawyer. Which we're not, a pro YouTube corporate, which we're not going to get into because, look, I'm not going to do anything legal in the court of public opinion. Let's let that happen in the courts. But there's this program, and people have been asking us to address it. And you may not be familiar with it. H3H3. The guy's name is Ethan, and we laughed not long ago about him saying that people shouldn't think about critical scientific and medical issues. This was the clip which got him upset.
I don't think I've ever seen a more perfect encapsulation of groupthink and discouraging any sort of critical thinking whatsoever and laughing about it with no self-awareness. This is my favorite clip of the year. Let's roll it.
They said you gotta wear a mask, so I'm out there wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Wow, big deal. And then now they say, you know, if you're outside, you don't need to wear a mask. It's pretty simple. You want to talk about who's dumb?
Yeah, I mean, the CDC is like this whole governmental body with scientists and shit that just tell us what to do. You don't have to think about it, dude.
After dark.
Okay, again, look, and I still think it's funny. I've never seen anybody so smug about being so ignorant. Now, let me be clear. Of course, we had some fun, but it was criticizing the idea. I do think it's a bad thing to tell people out there, young, impressionable people, because, you know, especially when you have an audience who's like 9 years old, when you've had to adapt your content to be YouTube friendly, to tell them not to think critically. Now, to be clear, we usually go after political figures, authoritative sources right on this show. Usually those are the people who we have to debate. Change My Mind is not a debate, but we've had politicians, scientists, Pulitzer winners, and every now and then a layup crosses our path who we just kind of like the shtick that you're only capable of. H3H3. Right? That's the only thing you can do is do the YouTube drama. So apparently some didn't like it, had some harsh criticism for me, namely Ethan. And he had this criticism to issue about us, again, not being smart enough to think critically and double down on the fact that one shouldn't.
So stupid. Why is he questioning the CDC or Fauci? Yeah, seriously, bro. You're not a doctor. I don't want to think about things.
Bro, do you f***ing question, like,
dead on
let's say
God, you're so dumb.
It's like so stupid.
So dumb, dude.
Do you go to the doctor and then bro, I literally can't. Do you go to the pharmacy and overlook you be like, oh, is that the right medicine?
Yes. Yes, I do.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
one time I had to give me the wrong medication. I had my doctor make sure they got the right one.
We don't need
do I read labels of pills I take?
Especially when you're such a dumbass and you don't understand how disease prevention works, then you should be listening to Dr. Fauci and the CDC.
Okay, good. Think about it, dude.
Exactly. It's that simple.
Just don't think. It's got electrolytes.
Imagine you wouldn't even have to make this video if you just didn't even think about it.
You're doubling down.
Smarter than you that dedicated their whole life to scientific research. You look at all the stress and strain on him that could have been prevented.
Oh, Steven, you're so stressed.
You don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, all the stress and strain on me that, would make me gray and walking recessive genetic polymorphism, incapable of growing contractile tissue. It's taking its toll. Okay.
This is
I understand what
to
you're
a
saying.
Shitty conversation at Starbucks.
I understand what you're saying there. And of course, you need to trust, you need to aggregate and verify. I never claimed to be a doctor. That's why we have them on our show. That's why we provide the sources that we do. However, yes, I do read labels of pills that I take. And for example, talking about like supplements, I make sure it's GMP certified, or I make sure that it's NSF certified, especially when I used to compete, because you have to make sure that this thing isn't tainted. Not saying that doesn't make me a supplement manufacturer. It makes me cautiously skeptical. And by the way, this is what matters. The CDC, he just said Fauci and the CDC. I mean, the fact that, look, Ethan, the fact that you're not aware, I guess, of the Fauci emails and the fact that he was telling the people one thing while believing another behind the scenes, and this has been released, this should tell you that trusting one person blindly is a problem. Let's just go through some examples of where we criticize, and I know that you're pro YouTube banning and deplatforming. We'll get to that in a second, because one of our warnings was we accurately cited the CDC data, but they didn't like that we did. Let's go to the CDC. Okay, let's go to example one. You have CDC, you have World Health Organization. In January, the World Health Organization said there was no evidence of human-to-human transmission. That was echoed by the CDC. Okay, January 2021, the CDC published a journal in JAMA claiming that nearly 60% of COVID cases came from asymptomatic carriers. Then in April, different CDC study found that asymptomatic carriers were unlikely to substantially contribute to the spread of COVID. This just happened, I believe, today or yesterday.
Yikes.
California, the scientists don't even, listen, bro. Don't even have to think about it, dude. So fucking stupid, bro. Look, they just reduced their death rate by 25% in California because they
That's
said,
a lot.
whoopsie, we had it wrong. And something that you need to understand, I'm not saying that in all of these, now in these instances, I was right. Because I said, I think it can transmit to humans. And for example, we said, I think you can't trust the World Health Organization because they work with China. They're very close. And it seems like there might be a lab leak. We were correct. But science isn't governed. It's not determined by consensus. It's determined by what's true. And that's why you have different scientific voices. You trust only the CDC and Fauci. We aggregate Fauci, CDC, World Health Organization, other doctors, and qualified immunologists, epidemiologists. And yes, that's a difference in a worldview that I have. So Fauci's email is right here that in case you didn't know, I don't think that he remembers. What do you have? You said he had emails saying masks weren't effective. The masks sold at drugstores. He also denied gain-of-function research, even though we know that from the emails that he actually did know about it. And of course, the funding to the Wuhan lab. There are a lot of things that happened that they were just misleading about. So I don't know why you would simply trust a government entity and be so smug about people who think critically. And by the way, we'll also get to the point that we provide references and sources so that everyone else can educate themselves, which you've never done. You just go, so fucking stupid, bro. I'm going to call YouTube executives to get them banned because it's like borderline, dude. All right. So now let's go to them doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on group, which by the way, and I want to say this too, because from what I understand, Ethan's wife is Israeli, and we've talked about the Israeli conflict, defended them, of course, their right to exist. And I know that you probably suffer some anti-Semitic comments here on YouTube. I've seen them. We've received them just for supporting Israel, and it's horrible. It's abhorrent. But you also need to understand that an Israeli, as Jewish government agencies, sold some people some bullshit. And thank God, part of the influence for the Holocaust was using health guidelines, was telling people that this was for their own public health safety.
Absolutely,
I think that the Nazis were wrong.
Yes.
Everyone has the right to criticize. And as a matter of fact, everyone has...
Tomato.
Yes. Tomato Goebbels.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Everyone has an obligation to do their own research. You believe they shouldn't. You discourage it actively. We encourage it actively, regardless of where we line up on our points of view. That's the idea that I'm criticizing that Ethan, of course, doubled down on here. And it's just, I'm sorry for people watching here who don't want to have to deal with this, but this is the kind of stuff that your kids, a few of them, may be watching.
Let's watch.
You gotta wear a mask, so I'm out there wearing a mask.
toady. Yeah.
Wow, big deal. And then now they say, if you're outside, you don't need to wear a mask. It's pretty simple. You want to talk about who's dumb?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole, the CDC is like this whole governmental body with scientists and shit that just tell us what to do. You don't have to think about it, dude. Obviously, my point is that if you're so fucking stupid, then yeah, you should listen to the CDC, bro. It's there.
Maybe you should.
Like, I don't understand this assumption that these
we're saying the same thing in a different tone.
Doctors have spent their whole life studying disease.
Hey man,
epidemiology is the word you were looking for. Epidemiology
he's not
is the word.
Anti-vax. He's just asking questions, right? I mean, it makes sense too, so I choose to listen to it. It's logical. They're not telling me go jump off a building, and I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense, but I'll do it anyway.
I'm telling you to shut down businesses.
They're saying
telling you that it doesn't transmit to humans.
Pretty
with
obvious,
a disease
pretty
that
simple.
spreads,
Taking pills without reading the label.
Like it's pretty easy.
It spreads through droplets, not aerosols.
Yeah,
It's
I kind of don't have a problem.
This wonderful
to people
Mensa
who know what
gathering.
they're talking about when they also are making sense.
When you look at ingredients on your food, do you go to the packing plant and then re-examine everything?
I look at the ingredient profile, of course.
I just read the ingredients.
Read the ingredients and make sure it's from a reputable company.
My God, I wore a mask.
I can't believe I wore a mask during that pandemic. Oh, that was so fucking stupid of me. I should never have listened to these scientists that spent their whole life studying this.
Which scientists?
I got to think for myself. I don't know. They always
How
do.
stupid
They always
he says that. I like it sarcastically. Think for myself.
Seriously, if this was at the table next to me, I would leave the restaurant.
You don't need to wear a mask. And then he said, you do need to wear a mask. And he changed his mind based on the situation, right? Bro,
Based on emails from Chinese officials, but you haven't read those.
You just trust what the tissue people tell you?
Ethan?
You trust that coffee you're drinking? You just
changed
trust?
your mind? Excellent information.
You could be making decisions that could impact your health forever by trusting that that's coffee.
I tasted
You're
it.
already too far out of the precedent he set. They tell you what to do. You don't even have to think about it, dude. Look, that's not a good rule of thumb for anything in life. But they act like
it's a good rule. I mean, yeah, when you're as dumb as you that can't understand shit, and
Can't
you're
pronounce
literally becoming
epidemiologist.
a biohazard. You should listen to CDC, bro. I know that. I mean, what's the point of government if we don't trust these whole institutions that we've propped up, funded, regulated?
Well, you don't even
the whole
blindly trust the government.
Blindly follow it, even.
Doesn't the Israeli Jew next to him have some thoughts about that? They had to create this whole land because they didn't trust any governments that existed. And I support
communism.
Wasn't America kind of based on that whole
It's a bit
thing?
of a stretch to say
To wear a mask, bro.
A little bit.
Okay.
During
What the fuck?
during a pandemic and with an airborne virus.
Okay.
What the
So look, let me
Airborne.
airborne again. He's not talking about droplets. Look. Okay. Let's assume that I'm as dumb as you. As dumb as you sound. Okay?
Well, yeah.
You could be,
Hey, who knows?
Listen.
Never know.
Spectrum could be really intelligent. As dumb as you sound right now. Let's assume we're both dumb. Okay. This comes down to a worldview. Let's assume that we're both not doctors. You say we should trust up these institutions who we've propped up. By the way, we haven't necessarily propped them up. Is Fauci, was he voted in? Or that's one of the arguments. But I know you haven't gone that far out from the trunk into the branches. One of the arguments is you have one of the highest paid officials in government, some of the most highly paid officials in government, never held private office, and there's never been an election. So to act as though we should blindly trust these organizations, your worldview is we're so dumb we should trust the World Health Organization, who said no human-to-human transmission, who said no way there's a lab leak, and then you two banned people who suggested it. You're saying we should blindly trust the CDC because everyone is too dumb out there. You believe that your audience is so dumb they couldn't possibly do their own research, and you actively discourage it. So let's assume neither one of us are doctors. We're both dumb. The difference is we actually provide sources and references every single day. Bring those up right there. CDC, World Health Organization, PubMed. And by the way, every single one of those, every single show, you can go to louderwithcrowder.com, go to the actual post of the video, and we provide all of these references below. Right? We have all of these links below where you can see, and we put them in the description. Why? Because I don't believe that people should trust me blindly, nor the World Health Organization, nor the CDC.
Nor anyone.
My worldview is you should, of course, aggregate the word and the advice, the wise counsel of scientists, of by the way, not just Fauci, I include doctors who've seen a patient.
That's like 40 years. Who knows?
And then verify it with your own research. Also, it's not pro-science to trust one person when about half of the scientific community, for example, was saying, hey, this thing may have leaked in a lab. Scientists from China who disappeared, right? You wouldn't know that, but maybe you could go check out our sources on our website and maybe you'll understand this a little bit. Those scientists were saying one thing, but the organization who you go into bat for, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, banned that information from getting out. So it's just two different worldviews. You believe that your audience is so dumb they couldn't be trusted with the ability to research freely. That's the pro-censorship mindset that permeates the world right now. I believe in discussions with people regardless of what they believe, and that we provide, a minimum 30, sometimes 120 references per day.
Yeah.
Almost all neutral, like PubMed, scientific journals, or left, like New York Times. You're not going to find a whole lot of conservative sources in there. Yeah. You do it?
But you're thinking about it, bro.
Like
if I have a headache, I just go up to the medicine cabinet, take whatevs, and hope it goes away.
Just grab some pills, bro.
Just take some stuff. See what happens.
What happened to trust but verify?
Trust but verify.
Right? You believe in elitism. You believe that there is a government savior coming for you in every realm and that you should listen to them. Well, that's how authoritarians come to power.
Well, why do you think a doctor doesn't prescribe you some stuff?
Yeah.
He's like, look, I'm just going to write it on here. There
Some
you go.
stuff,
Whatever.
yeah.
They'll
Like,
know.
well, what does it do? Huh? What is it?
By the way,
trust
since
me?
you're so pro-pharmaceutical company, and by the way, no, we're not anti-vax. I've talked about how many people should get vaccinated,
Yes,
particularly
of course.
old people. My mother
Yes.
who has pneumonia. I think then people need to make a decision. I think people have their own freedoms. Constitution would be an easy reference to start with.
It's a big document.
But this idea that I'm anti-vax, but since now all of a sudden you're this pro-pharmaceutical company guy, well, listen, the reason that I do actually ask is because the commercials say, ask your doctor about Abilify. You go and the doctor's like, well, there's nothing I can do. You're just going to have psoriatic arthritis for the rest of your life. What about mild to plaque, severe psoriasis? What about Abilify? Well, I guess we could try that. So they tell me
Wait, you
to ask my doctor. I'm following those doctors, the pharmacists. So, the point is when you just follow one person, eventually, the blind mice get their tails cut off. He sort of mocked me, and ran out of steam and got to, I guess what is considered in the YouTube world a roast.
Oh. There's so much to say because I haven't really talked about him, but the dude has such small energy that he's wearing a holster. He wears a fucking gun holster, bro.
Oh my god!
Like he's so
me and 35% of Americans.
He needs a gun holster to feel like masculine.
Wait, he's wearing it as like an accessory?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, always.
Yes. He wears a gun holster, bro. And he's got tissues next to him in case
He starts crying.
Finish the joke, buddy. In case there's a premise.
He starts crying.
Get a
his
punchline.
Mascara starts running. Look at this
gendered.
dude.
Watch this.
He's such beta energy with the fucking cigar, the holster.
All these dudes,
God.
the cigar thing is just the overcompensation is real.
Is this guy trying to dress like Marty McFly, or is that actually an outfit he wears?
Oh, there's laziness
He
again.
wears
It was a
cigar.
Back to the Future themed episode.
So sick. It's so f***ing manly to just have a big brown turd in your mouth all the time.
Dude, and a holster? Man.
With the Kleenex.
Let me just say, first of all, you have...
Hold on a second.
Get out of here.
That's due to allergies, okay? So I had a bronchial thing, which is community guidelines in a mutable condition. It's genetic. But I guess there's a ceasefire here, so we can talk about any genetic conditions like the lack of chin, lack of beard, 120-pound man wearing the Cinderella bandana on his head, trying to compensate with a beard that he uses just for men, or the eyebrow phrase like E.T. in the cornfield. It's so stupid, bro. The point is,
very active.
Immutable characteristics. Let's be careful. But you were about to say something. No.
Well, you've always liked cigars. You're on a show to promote the, responsible gun ownership.
Yes.
And then it's the same way as they have to look like Wayne and Garth transitioning to kind of be the further reach of YouTube censorship. To let to kind of put you in your place.
Now, we have to be careful because I don't know, because they can say, you're so stupid, bro. I can't believe you're thinking for yourself. Look at him. He's got a small dick. But he's the kind of guy who then goes to YouTube and supports people being banned. Ethan, it's got to suck to look yourself in the mirror and know that you've entirely changed who you are and your content to appease the powers that be. Look, maybe you didn't. Maybe you had a change of heart where all of a sudden you don't care about free speech and expression and you're pro-YouTube and you're pro-deplatforming and you're pro-demonetization. But let's be honest that one of us here has changed our point of view. And yes, I do carry a holster, like many Americans, tens of millions of Americans. Why? To promote, to normalize.
But doesn't it feel real quick, though, just as it's essentially just censorship being disguised as a let's get high and have fun podcast.
Yeah, let's hang out, not think about anything.
Right. Look, I don't dislike you. I criticize an idea, okay? You only do YouTube pissing contests with people. That's not what I do. That's not what I'm interested in doing. I just think that it's a bad thing to tell kids that it's stupid to think about issues or do your own research.
Yeah. Well,
I disagree with that idea.
And saying that it's easy money, like it's a grift that's easy. Do you understand what demonetization is?
Yeah.
Which you advocate.
Exactly. Do you understand?
You support.
They don't pay us, even though sponsors are ready, willing, and able to put ads on our channel. They won't let us have it for even the most benign of content.
Hours of research, so easy. It's the easiest grift
Come on,
ever.
he doesn't do what we do, bro, which is put on beanies.
Just sit here, bro.
And tell the story with our eyebrows.
Tim Allen lost a show. Anybody who's even remotely right-wing in the Hollywood industry has lost everything.
Of course.
Get that argument out of
What
here.
an easy grift.
Look, yes, what an easy grift. And
There's all those right-wing specials you see on Netflix.
Yeah, all those.
And even though you're Mr. Potty Mouth, how many strikes just for actually taking a stand? Let's just think about that. Not hate speech. We've never been accused of hate speech, violating. It's just taking a stand. ever willing to take unpopular opinions? Ever willing to swim upstream? No, instead, and this is where we really differ, and this is where I do think it's actually shameful, because once upon a time, Ethan Klein would have people, for people out there who knows, this is a big show on YouTube, for other people watching, if they're still watching. I know most of them don't care about this, but they have a lot of young people who tune in. You would have Jordan Peterson on, and really, you remember Quarterback, you used to watch him.
Yeah, back in the day, he was really funny.
He was one of the few guys who was sort of anti-SJW censorship.
Yeah.
And then flipped.
Wow. Yeah, his content's completely different. He kind of dropped off.
A totally different person. I don't care if you don't like the content. Totally different person in that now you advocate. Now, I've never, ever, I want to be clear, I don't think your channel should be demonetized or taken down, even though I think it's really, really bad to tell kids not to do research. I think that's bad. I think it's almost anti-educational. Hopefully I pronounced that about as correctly as you did, epidemiologist.
Even if what you put out is so boring, it's anti-content.
This is the big difference here. I would never advocate that you be removed even though you're espousing bad ideas. I would never advocate that other people out there who espouse what I believe are bad ideas and provide no substantiation and, frankly, bully for a living. This is what he does, goes after often smaller channels. I still think that you have the right to do it. The difference here is you, Ethan Klein, and this is what happens with liberals, not only lines up with it consistently, supports active deplatforming, demonetizing, and removing points of view, which I don't know how you come up as an independent content creator and then do this.
The quartering is without a doubt a social justice warrior, except the causes he fights for are just different. I sentence him to be banned from Twitter and demonetized 20 billion times. It's the 15 videos, it's the misleading thumbnails, it's the joking about killing her, it's encouraging the audience to go raid her Discord and try to get banned and giving a cash prize. I mean, dude, there's this whole thing of like, they came for Leafy and you laughed, and next they came for you and nobody was there. It's like, dude, no. The guy's
don't say it's like, dude. Explain, dude, what it is like.
YouTube apparently for demonetizing him.
I think he was locked out of uploading for a time, but yeah, I think at the moment he can. It's just that if he gets another strike, he'll be completely banned from the platform, and so he's out of an abundance of caution not uploading.
Got it. That's a good idea. I mean, I've seen his content.
Right.
I mean, the one about me was bordering on COVID misinformation.
Wow.
Like, he was flirting with it.
How?
But there's certain things that Joe's been saying that's, like, dangerous, like the COVID shit. Like, he's telling his audience, don't get the shot. He's saying masks is for pussies. He literally just, like, the other day...
Fauci have to correct what Mr. Rogan said on his podcast?
Yeah. He said young, healthy people do need to get the vaccine.
Now, look. This is important here. I don't know everyone who he's talked to. It was a long list. We had to shorten down the montage of people he's attempted to get banned or removed. And maybe some people were actively breaking the law, actively calling them out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do know that doesn't matter. Sort of like when people say, abortion, what about for incest or rape? And you go, oh, okay, all right. If we allow abortion for incest or rape, can we then get rid of all late-term abortions? Well, no. Well, then don't bring it up.
Right.
Don't bring up that this person was actually breaking the law with speech, because you think that it was medical misinformation to laugh at you for saying, don't even think about it, bro. Come on, man. Do you not see the dangerous march toward fascism? Not march. You're there. You've reached King Koopa of fascism. You're jumping over and hitting the key. I can't believe this. This is what's so scary, is when you have people who have the ear of executives at YouTube who get these branding deals and they say, oh, it's almost medical misinformation. It's almost medical misinformation, bro, to say that you should think about it. This is how rumors get started.
Video lawyer.
I have a problem with your ideas. I want to be clear about. I have a problem with the kinds of concepts that you are actually espousing and preaching to young kids. Okay, I really do. But I also want to be clear here. There's a problem with either you are so lazy that you are incapable of doing basic research, or you are a compulsive liar. Here we go.
I have an email, by the way, from his
producer or something.
One of his producers trying to get me to come on the show. Here, I'll read it, because there's some funny excerpts in it. So, hi, I'm a celebrity talent booker for Louder with Crowder. I'd love to book Ethan Klein. Ethan Klein.
Who?
They even bolded my name.
Because it's a clickbait farm. He doesn't even realize it.
Please click on it.
He probably thinks he has a real letter from Santa Claus.
Louder with Crowder is a syndicated show hosted by Steven Crowder, stand-up comedian. He was a host for 4 years on Fox News. He was their youngest ever contributor. It said Roger Ailes even had a round with him.
There's a laugh?
Stephen's irreverent, edgy, yet distinctively conservative style has thrust him into the national success, appearing on most major cable shows. And then when I didn't respond, this booker was so desperate to get me, she said, she responded.
You're in such demand with fictional bookers.
Later, good morning. Following up on the below request, can we find a day that works? And
they emailed. Stay with it. I'll continue. It's a lie.
Forward me the original email again.
Okay.
Well, first of all, they emailed him with a prank call.
To be clear, let me just. You know what? Under penalty of perjury, Gerald. Have I ever had a female booker?
That would be a no.
That would be a no. I've never had a female booker. That is either a lie or, again, you are so lazy. I'm just going to say it. So mind-numbingly stupid that you don't understand or you couldn't be bothered to do your own basic research that this comes from a click farm that people use all the time to try and attach themselves to famous people. I don't know who that is. No one reached out to you. I've never worked with that person. That's how rumors get started. This is what happens. Our buzz booker reached out. Did you didn't disguise yourself as a lady and send out a mass email with his name clearly inserted in bold?
I mean, I may have gone on Rocket Mail and been like, hey.
It's like the Simpsons Krusty Camp where it's, I hope you kids are welcome, Counselor Black, to Camp Krusty. and objectively, I will say, look, we've talked about this. Dave Landau. Why is Dave Landau funny? Well, because people think people pay money to see him be funny, right? Yeah. People have done that for a long time, and professionals pay money to see him be funny. Humor is largely subjective, right? But there are objective sort of guardrails. We've talked about this, where you have, objectively, right, my left, your right, you have like Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle, those kinds of people. And then you have objectively people who are unfunny, where nobody likes them. The kinds of people who do open mics for years at a time and no one goes sees Ethan, right? People like that. And then in the middle, maybe you have your people like your Jerry Seinfelds, your Richard Jennings, your Dave Landaus, or maybe it's not for you. You aren't for anyone. We've just watched you. Just premise.
The podcast.
Why does he have a tissue? Why does he have a tissue, bro? It's like, is it for? Yes. Is it for some type of compensation, masturbatory fantasy for Donald Trump? Is it for some kind of catching, we didn't know that AIDS was aerosoled? I mean, I could write you 15 punchlines. I'm not saying they'll be gold, but at least we're swinging the bat. Look, I will say this time I'll have my actual booker, my dad, write a joke about, he can do it, his dad, bro. Yep, my dad works for me, isn't it?
Yeah, because
your wife is on a show. My dad actually worked in relations, worked in customer relations and booking before. I don't know that your wife has a resume of hosting. If she does, good.
Well, your dad's also proud of you and still wants to speak with you.
This is true.
I'm not saying that might be different for other people. I'm just saying.
I have no idea. That's entirely conjecture. But if I had to bet, bro, I wouldn't even have to think about it. So, look, I will say this. I will never, ever, after this, address you again, because I do feel like you're trying to bait people out there, trying to bait us into getting into a back and forth YouTube pissing contest where we never actually meet in person and never actually have a conversation. And I just usually, so I'm going to assume that you're not lying, because I never give debates or interviews to people who lie.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like, hey, he said he was going to meet me at the town square. No, I didn't. I'm not going to give an interview. I'm not going to be baited that way. I think you got an email and you're dumb. I will invite you on the show, Ethan Klein. I will have I'll follow you on Twitter. I will have Darren, my booker, reach out where you can come on this show. And by the way, I will always be respectful. I will never interrupt. There's a difference between what we do here. It will just be me, you and I, and we can discuss the difference in our worldview, that you don't believe in providing references, sources, and you think it's stupid to think critically of any sort of governmenting body. I disagree with you, and I think it's a bad message to teach kids. You think it's really bad that I responsibly carry a firearm. Let's talk about the issues. An even playing field, no editing. You and I can talk about it. It is appointed to a man once to be invited on this show. Gerald knows this policy as well.
One time.
You'll get this invitation once. If you decline, and everyone now knows that you will, you can keep talking about me if you want, but I will never address you again, because I have no interest in going back and forth with the kind of hackery that takes place there.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.